see, faces or
Yeah.
tries. Faces, I'm at 5.1k. Yeah. This little guy.
It's a lot of polygons.
I know. I'll probably go with something medium because I want enough detail for it to be fun.
What's the plan with that guy?
I'm just practicing, so I'm going to finish modeling him, making him, texturing him, and I'm gonna stick him into Unity and then just do something for fun.
And she's gonna start a kids show called Adventures with Cade.
Yeah! See, that's a great idea.
It doesn't end well.
It doesn't end well at all.
Oh,
No?
It's gonna go from G to PG to R real quick.
No.
Today's episode is sponsored by murder.
No.
I love it.
That's right up my alley. I would love to do that so much.
So we should be live.
Yeah. Let's see. I thought yes, I did hear the thingy go ding. Okay, but it's not showing up in my tablet.
Yep. Saying live. That's probably the worst.
Oh, there we are.
But I'll try and get the group showing back again. I don't
awesome.
know what I deleted off it.
Oh, I should turn the volume off there.
Thank you all for bearing with me on the extremely long learning process of Streamlabs is not my friend.
Oh.
But to get going and everything, if you guys are all set, we can probably go ahead and start recording.
Yeah, let's do the thing.
I think the image in the middle of the screen is frozen.
No. Yeah, it's frozen on my end too.
Because that's definitely not what I have on there.
It does have a lag, but yeah, it looks frozen, like it's not even moving.
Yeah, it's dead. Oh, there we go. Hang on.
Shouldn't be. It's moving on my PC.
There it is. I see it now. We're good. All right.
We good?
Yep, we're good.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So, what we usually do, we do like a little clap first. 1, 2, 3, clap. You know, hit record, and then, or no, 1, 2, 3, hit record. 1, 2, 3, clap for a marker, so I can line everything up.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm trying to figure out how to remove screen share.
It should be at the bottom of this. Here you go. I had faith in you.
Learned. And I gotta get that software launched. Sorry, I am behind this time. I get swallowed up when I'm working on stuff. Oh, shit.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You good to go, Ruby?
Launching. And this is why I need an SSD, so I can just launch my applications from it quickly without wait. But on top of that, I seriously need a new GPU. Yeah, I'm not even seeing the thing.
Joe's still playing around with the format.
I'm going to be playing around with it like this entire time, just so you know. That's just how I am. My attention span's like that sometimes, and it's like I get hyper-focused on something. It's like, I feel really bad. I'm going to keep working on this. No. We'll move ahead.
It's not launching at all. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. I got a little screen saying it's loading. It's just the loading screen, but at least I know it's there.
Every time I look at the screen, I look at myself and I'm like, I look like if I've either been drinking or sitting on the sun. And I got a heater right here that's like this office like heats up super fast. All right. Well, you ready with Audacity, Ruby?
Just about. Let me create a new audio file. New audio file. Yes, call it as episode 4 or 5.
4.
Oh,
True.
dang. Episode 4. All right. Ready when you guys are.
Yep.
Which I
Ready?
know you guys are.
All right. So, 3, 2, 1, press record. 3, 2, 1, clap. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Pixels After Dark. Tonight we are talking with the one and only Pherian, who is not only just an amazing artist from the community, he's also like a triple threat. He writes, he does art, and he's an amazing family man because he took his family to Disney World last week. So that's pretty amazing right there. That's no jealousy coming out in me whatsoever. I'm very jealous. Thank you for being on with us, man, and thank you for bearing with me with everything with Streamlabs and OBS. It was an uphill battle tonight.
Time. No problem.
Might just want to jump right in and ask you some questions right off the top and just dive in.
Yeah.
Who or what inspired your passion for art?
So like most, I guess, artists, ever since you were small, you were drawing. Like that's like most people. But I guess some of the people that I remember being like, oh, I wish I could draw like that. Obviously, comic book people, right? I read a lot of those things. So I was in the '90s, was my teenage years. So it was the Jim Lee, obviously, Rob Liefeld with the weird proportions and all the pouches. There are various guys like that. And I was one of those guys where I don't remember names very much. I just literally saw something and did my best to replicate it as best I could, type thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read I don't know if anybody has ever read this, but there was a comic called Elf Quest. I don't know.
Ha! Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, Wendy and Richard Penny, I believe, were the writer and author, and I used to draw the elves all the time, man. I love that style.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you had people. What's his name? Scott Campbell, I believe, did Danger Girl. It was another comic strip that I see. I didn't. I was a nervous kid, so I didn't draw a lot of girls because I didn't want people thinking I liked girls or anything. You know, that was a dangerous when you're a kid. So I didn't really get good at that. I drew mostly superhero dudes, you know. And then once I started realizing I'm sorely lacking in my ability to draw women, I started looking up people that I thought were pretty good at that, and it leads you down some interesting comic book paths, and you start to realize, wait, none of these people are like real women and all that stuff, and so you have to explore and figure out what makes sense for you, and as far as a stylized thing that you like and stuff like that. So it's not an easy path when you like comics to try and draw realistic, because they don't commonly draw realistically, you know.
Right. Yeah, the proportions are all
Yeah,
exaggerated.
they're all jacked up and stuff, but it's fun. It depends on what you're going for, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have a favorite comic book character that you like to draw?
I don't spend a lot of time drawing comic book characters anymore or anything like that. Now, Batman is still my number one favorite comic book character. I like grounded characters, people that are that don't deal with like extraterrestrial threats and stuff. I like my stories to be more about realistic things, organized crime, that sort of stuff. You know, grew up with the X-Men.
Yeah.
When they dealt with societal issues more so than the Shi'ar Empire and all the space stuff. That doesn't interest me. Which is actually why I never really got into the Avengers that much, because they always dealt with like huge level threats and stuff like that, and
Right.
that stuff doesn't really interest me. Now the MCU, on the other hand, is a whole other story. It's amazing what they're being able to do with that kind of stuff, you know.
Right. Oh, so you're a Batman boy.
I do. I have that. There's a collection up there of Batman graphic novels and stuff that I've accumulated over the years.
Do you read any of the new ones, or?
Oh yeah,
Not so
yeah,
much.
I'm still current. Yep.
Oh, very cool.
Is that the 52s?
Yeah, I started. I got all the 52s. Scott Snyder is the author, and
Yep. I got a few of them right over here, actually. When the
yeah,
Joker came back.
Capullo, man, is ridiculous. He's probably my favorite current comic book artist is Greg Capullo.
Mhm.
He's fantastic. He's ridiculously good. So yeah, yep. I'm all current.
Batman's got the best villains out of any of the comic book
Yeah,
heroes or
you know,
anything.
because
He really does. I mean,
yeah, they're all real people that went nuts, which is, I don't know, more fun to me than I am a superpowered being that can shoot lasers out of my. I don't know. That's not nearly as fun to me as getting into the neuroses and the psyche of these guys. You know.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
yeah. But another question I had for you is,
Sure.
what is your favorite medium to work with?
So now it's digital.
Everything's digital now.
Yeah, pretty much everything is digital. Just because I work at work. That's when I draw mostly. In the spare time at work, and I happen to have all this stuff available for me. So it's not as easy to pull out the uh, the charcoal and stuff in the middle of the office. They don't like that as much as you'd think. So
No.
yeah, it's weird, but it's true. But yeah, so I have a tendency to stick with the digital right now. Now, when I was growing up, I mean, it's still pencil and pen, just traditional sketch stuff. And then when I was in college, I mean, it was mostly charcoal and pastels. I really enjoyed working in those mediums, stuff that I could blend and tweak with easily and stuff like that. You know,
Do you by any chance use portable tablet?
to use a portable tablet?
Yeah, like iPads or Surface.
No, I don't have iPads. I have a Surface Pro, but I don't ever draw on it. I tried that for a little while, and found I didn't like it as much, actually.
Oh,
I'm not sure why. I can't tell you what the deal is with it, but if I'm going to be carrying anything portable, it's probably just going to be, traditional paper sketch pad. Just go like that. Yeah.
So
like I have one. I have it in my car, and it just kind of sits there. And now my kids pick it up every time we drive somewhere. So every time I open a sketchbook, there's new drawings in there that make no sense. I can't understand what the heck is happening, but it's delightful at the same time. So it's pretty cool,
Now, you not only do art, like you're also a writer too. I really want to come around on this too, because some people have. I know you don't do your art is your passion. I mean, you're not a professional artist. You do it because you love to do. You love to create art.
Right.
I looked through briefly earlier. You gave me a link to get into one of your books. This is just amazing how, I don't want to say versatile, but you have a lot on your plate. I mean, and I know you do an RPG thing too. You're very into D&D, but with the writing, just to really touch on it, how did you get involved with writing? I mean, it's so creative. I mean,
sure,
you have quite a bookshelf worth of works that you've done so far.
Yeah, I've written about 12 different novels over the years, and I've never published any of them because it's a lot of work to get involved with that. And honestly, I don't like my passions to become work.
Right.
So it drives my wife nuts, but it is what it is. That's just my preference. Now, the second phase of life, eventually I'm probably going to head down a path where I try and pursue that kind of stuff. But right now, with the way the kids are, they're young and stuff like that, I don't want to take time out of my day to worry about that kind of stuff right now, when it's easier for me just to go to work, come back, deal with. I coach 3 soccer teams. I have to. My wife works an hour away, so she's not back until 7 at night most of the time, and she leaves before 6. So it's pretty much me running the show, So I gotta be focused around here. But how I got into writing was I have the need to create, regardless of what's going on, right? I have to. So in college, I was in for art, and honestly, pretty disillusioned. I joined up for expecting to learn something, for them to teach me some stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And it turns out it's literally just 4 years of practice, and I didn't know that. Honestly, I was like, oh my god, I could have done this in my own time. Like I could have literally done this whenever I wanted. So I was very upset with that. So in my downtime, I pretty much stopped doing art and pretty much just focused on creating worlds and writing stuff. Um, I would do a lot of role playing games. Always have since I was 13, and then one of these comic book and role playing shops opened up down the street. I used to go there all the time. Got seriously hooked on that. So did my friends. We were a bunch of big nerds. So we played a bunch of Star Wars, the role playing game, and stuff like that. Eventually graduated to making our own role playing games, and I created my own story that they played in, and it became such a good narrative that eventually it became the first series of books, which is 7 books long. It actually has a finality and everything like that. From there, I had written so much, I just got so used to it, I just kept going. I picked different topics.
I love it.
Yeah, I wrote a romantic comedy one. I wrote a traditional, prototypical fantasy story about a hero, destiny, yada yada. I love Norse mythology, the concept of Ragnarok from the Prose Edda and all the different Norse mythologies and writings, and I translated it into like basically a sci-fi setting. Let me think of what else. Top of my head, I wrote a steampunk type story. I don't know. I'm just kind of all over the place with that.
Very passionate about it, I could tell, and I'm going to be diving into a few of those books. The Ragnarok one is the first one I'm going to attack because the synopsis, the summary that you put on underneath it, grabbed me immediately, and that's the one that I was trying to get into earlier today. But yeah, the role playing, I was a huge D&D nerd too, way back, and seeing it come back in full strength. I watched. You're a part of a weekly D&D stream group. I've watched that probably 24 times, a dozen times, right in there. It's just so awesome watching everybody, and you created artwork for each one of their characters, and I love the name of your character's name, and you wrote a book on him. Was
Bungus.
Bungus. I wanted you to say it. I didn't want to say it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
please say it.
Yeah,
Bungus.
I didn't. So when they let me join in, some people, when they make characters, they really go power fantasy. They want to make a character that's like gonna kick butt, take names, that could be the lead of this epic story or something like that, And I didn't want to take away anything from them if that's how they had played their characters. I didn't know their characters yet, so I made what I considered a really good support dude that was just amusing. So at the very end of the day, if they're nothing else, they're just like, he was funny, and they can let me go. And so that's what I made. I made this dwarf monk warlock, which is like 3 things that do not go together. As far as if you're one of those guys that does statistics, like or attribute, like you're looking to min max, and no, that those 3 things do not work well. But he's a goofball who his voice, whenever he has telepathy, right? So he freaks you out by speaking in your head, and he's got the Batman voice when he does that. He's like, "Hey, listen up," They're like, "What the heck is that?" And then when he finally talks, they're like, "Would you just use your regular voice?" He's like, "Okay, how's it going?" And they're like, "Oh my god!" And they can't figure out which is worse, and it's pretty.
I love
and
it.
He was an actual idiot. He was a moron, but he was wise and good natured. I don't know. He was a very fun character, and so I decided to write a little story about him, going on his little solo adventures before he met the group, as to give them an idea who he was before he met them, that sort of thing.
Nice.
It's
Pretty
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
It is very cool. But earlier today, Tyler had a really good question he brought up into the Discord.
Okay.
Do you want to say that? I don't have the window popped up right now.
Yeah. So basically, I've noticed a lot of your art recently. You've been doing like Twitch streamers, things like that, and putting them onto video game characters. And I think what's so impressive to me about it is, one, how much of a likeness you get of them, but two, how you get it to flow so well. So I think you touching on like your story aspect kind of answers one of those questions on how you get it to flow, is because you kind of have that creative mindset already. But what's your process for getting the likeness so close to what the streamers look like?
Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is the grid system. That's what I used. I learned this in college. That's like one takeaway I got, and it wasn't actually taught to me by anybody. I read about it in a book that's how Da Vinci and some of the other guys used to use. They throw threads up on a suspended wooden frame in front of their canvas, and then they throw more threads up in front of their subject, and this would allow them to basically create a grid in front of them, and they could quickly measure out pieces of the character or their person that they were trying to draw. And so I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, and it's super easy in Photoshop. So what I do is I open up a window to the right or to the left, and then I create a grid system, and then I quickly for those I would just sketch out the face like of the person. I'd find a good reference photo of that individual. I would then um, make sure that. Let me fix this real fast. 1 second. Yeah, so I'd make sure that the person that I'm drawing kind of fit the mentality of what it was. And then what I'll do is I'll actually reference photos online a lot of other like military type outfits and stuff like that. So the one key for me, and I'll say this all the time, the most expensive thing on my plate is my time. Like that's my number one resource. And if I am not um, getting my time, then if I'm wasting my time, then it's not worth it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have anything to prove. So once I know that I can draw something, I'm good with taking reference shortcuts, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, guns. I'm not a fan of drawing guns. I don't like it. I love guns in games, especially. I think they're cool. It's one of my favorite parts of things like Destiny and Division and stuff like that. But man, I hate drawing them. I'm an organic drawer. Drawer. That sounds terrible, but I'm an organic artist. I'm not a big fan of heavy mech stuff. Um, as far as drawing it. Now, looking at it, man, I could look at artists that do that all day. It's awesome to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. It's just not a strong suit of mine. It's not something I enjoy. So, for instance, whenever I get there's a gun that needs to be drawn, man, I'll find a good reference photo and basically trace the outline of it to make sure I get it straight. And then from there, I'll go ahead and move forward with detailing on my own and stuff like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
have no problems with that. So when it comes to referencing people, I don't sit on watch them on stream for 8 hours and just try and get a likeness. I watch them on stream until they make a face that I enjoy. I'll pause it. I will crop that image, put it in the screen next to me, and then grid it so that I am drawing the face that I enjoy, like that I think will work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll find reference photos online, find a good tactical vest that looks neat. Wasting time thinking up how things should look and stuff to me is not valuable to me. I don't have to sit there and go, I did this 100% just me. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that my day moved on and I can, you know, keep going without wasting too much time.
So when you open up Photoshop and you're getting ready to do the grid system, do you already have a grid that you've pre-made to where you just kind of slap it on whatever image you're using, or do you set it up each time? And if so, how do you set it up?
Yeah, so you could just make a pattern. I can show you how real fast on this. So control new. So you get like just a 100, or actually, it's the easiest way is inches. Go 1 inch, by 1 inch, 300. All right, there's your 1 inch grid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Create a new layer. Throw down a 1 pixel on the right side, a 1 pixel line on the left side, and then you fill it with black. Bloop. Okay. Delete the bottom layer. So now you just got one layer. It's transparent and it's got a single pixel width on the right side and bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Control A to highlight the everything. Edit, define pattern, and then 1 inch brush. Or not brush. 1 inch grid. I'm sorry, I named it wrong, but whatever. All right, now let's start a new one real fast. We'll go to US paper 8.5 by 11. All right, grid. Select the pattern you just made, and then boom, a grid. And once you've got the pattern set, it's done. You can use that pattern as many times as you want, and or whatever. You've now made a 1 inch. You can do that for a half inch grid. You can do that for a 30 pixel grid, whatever you want.
Any size you're kind of needing.
Yep, whatever you need, and that's how I use it. And so what you can do, like for instance, on this picture right now I'm doing with Tyler, sometimes you want to be a little more artistic. So what you do is you hide the grid, you put it underneath, and then what that allows you to do is you are now referencing more of your own work than the grid, but the grid gave you the foundation to make sure your proportions are for the most part correct.
Right.
It helps out a lot.
Yeah, no, that's really fascinating.
At this point, I just see you adding detail. I've got him blocked in, and it looks so identical.
It is. I'm painting on the grid layer. That's stupid. Yeah, but yeah.
That is probably the number one thing artists do with digital.
Yeah,
I feel like
layer,
is paint on the wrong layer. Yeah.
In wrong layer, always. It's so annoying.
The worst is when you got like 30 minutes gone by and you're like, well.
yeah, and you can't just undo and move on.
Yeah.
Pain.
Salvage as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny.
That's it, man.
You're just working with one layer too. I just see
layer. Yeah, I move fast. And it for this is just basic blocks. This is just blocks of color, and you can see I'm pulling them straight from his reference photo.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the game where I'm going to try and guess color depth and stuff. You know, when you're on a real canvas and you throw down a shade of green and some blue, and then you paint over it so that you get those lights that pop through. I think that's important. You know, that you understand the fundamentals of color design and how light bounces through your skin and all that stuff. But when I'm painting digitally, I'm just going to grab it. And people's skin is not one shade of pink. It's not just pink. There's lights and browns and stuff, and there's a lot of nuances there. And I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to grab and go pretty quick here,
It works, though. The process is great.
It's fast, and, but again, and if I was, let me think, if this was my profession, and I was getting paid to create a unique piece of art that is solely my own, and I was going to have to claim it for eternity, I'd probably do it different. But I'm not being paid to do this. Right now, I'm having fun. And that's what matters to me.
Interesting. How would you do it different?
Sorry. So I'd probably make sure I had more of my own style on it than going for pure realism at this point or whatever. I'd make sure that the piece that I was creating was unique to me and not like this pattern. This is good for replicating what I'm seeing in front of me, but it's not as good for getting an exact feeling of that person, that the emotion that you'll get as an artist while you're drawing, in my opinion. There's some other artists out there that do a really good job of that capture their own essence while drawing someone else. You can look at people like Ash, A.R. McD, that does all the stuff for Destiny.
Yeah.
There's a very unique feel to everything that she does because it's uniquely her own. And if I was doing something like that, that would be my goal. But right now, my art moves between phases. You'll see some of my stuff's very line art and colory, some of it's very painterly. But it's because I just can't fixate on one thing. I have to constantly be changing things up.
And I've seen you pull off different styles as well. Just when too.
I'm sorry. Say that again. You broke up.
Oh, sorry. I've realizing styles from as well. Like some look sketchy, some are just ink, some are crosshatch. You
Yeah.
just seem to explore all spectrum.
Yeah, I'm not a very consistent guy as far as style goes. I'm consistent more on output than than style. It's more about for me, it's quantity. It's like everybody's like, no, quality over quantity. No,
Oh,
I'm gonna do quantity. I'm just gonna shove them out there.
you're having fun with these.
You
Love
know
it.
what I find interesting just about your process with all of this is it's very similar to what Clinton was talking about with concept work, where it was taking the necessary shortcuts you need to achieve the goal that you want, rather than trying to do everything,
Right.
line
Yes.
by line, kind of, so to speak. So
Yeah.
it is pretty interesting. You're very concept arty without being concept arty. If
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
It's happening
I
anyway.
think I fail at concept art because man, I am not an environmental artist. I'm pretty much a one trick pony when it comes to just characters. That's pretty much my bag. Um, I've tried landscapes in the past. I'm not absolutely terrible at it, but they don't interest me as much as the organic being on the page.
Mhm.
And so I have a tendency to not focus on it as much, which is not a good trait among someone who wants to get hired in that industry, right? You should
Right.
probably step up your game, Pherian, if you're going to want to do that. Luckily, I'm not trying to do that. I live in like south of New Orleans. There's not a ton of game developers out here in the bayou, so we got family and stick to this, and this is fun. I like doing what I'm doing here. So
Do you think your stories that you write kind of have a heavy influence on what you end up drawing as far as the characters?
actually no, because most of the people that I draw, like you look at my Destiny characters, are just people like random fans or whatever that say, "Hey, could you maybe draw my guy?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, tell me about your guy." And he's like, "Oh man, he's a hunter. He likes this and yada yada, and I like this gun a lot, and it'd be cool if he was doing this." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that. That's fine." It doesn't bother me. I like what. See, I'm in a unique position where I can create art.
Hmm.
Right? This is not my livelihood. I don't need to get great commissions or anything like that. I just want to create art. And these people don't have the capacity of creating art, which I can help with. I can give them something that they'll have forever that means a lot, and it brings a little bit of joy to the world, and it doesn't cost me anything. Because again, this is not my main source of income or anything. So it's something I have to do. I have to create. It's ingrained in me, and I have the ability while I create to give somebody else something that they're going to treasure or at least like, or maybe not even like, but have enjoyed wasting my time or
Oh,
something. I'm not sure, but it's it's something that I can do for people that I like doing. I don't mind it. It's fun,
That's awesome. That's a great outlook to have on it.
but it's only because I don't have to rely on it for if it was work, it'd be different.
Yeah, no,
I'd take it a
absolutely.
lot more seriously. And what I always do, and some people are like, oh, you're taking art from good artists. In a way, yes, but at the same time, every time somebody comes back and says, hey, can you draw my friends or can you draw this? I always say, no, I only do one request per person, but I have a ton of people that do this kind of stuff, and I want to reference you to them. Can I do that? And they either say, yeah, sure, and then I post it in the Discord, and I try and get people to pay, give them attention because they're willing to pay for this, and I've already done them something. I'm pretty much one piece of art per person, that sort of thing.
Nice.
you're never afraid that someone will abuse it and just make multiple accounts and be like, "Hey."
I suppose they could, but on the flip side, I might get some good art out of it. So
Okay, okay.
you never know. And honestly, if it's worth it, if it's that important to them, then you know what? Let's help them out. They obviously need some sort of assistance with this, so it's fine.
And you're right. I've seen over the past couple of years, you made a few pieces. I know you never take you don't take commissions. You do it because you're passionate about it. but a few of them that stick out in my head from the Destiny community are just amazing. I see still to this day. One of them is a family. He was
Yeah.
a Saint 14 helm in a bubble with his
Yep.
children, and
Defend the family. Yeah.
defend the family, and that is amazing. And that person, every time it pops up on like a Twitter feed or something like that, they always go nuts over it, and it's great seeing that passion. And you're right. I mean, in fact, impacted them positively just from that piece, and they're gonna have it forever.
Yep.
I'd print it
That's
out
correct.
and frame it on my wall right there.
And that's what I get a lot of those comments. And like after I do it, they're like, "Are you serious? This is awesome!" Blah blah blah. And then they show me a picture of it in their family, or I've done more private pieces where like people saying my mother-in-law has cancer, or my dad is getting sick, and I do pictures for them on the side, that sort of thing. And it's nice to be able to use your talent to help people out. It really is. It's a good thing, right? I mean, I always tell my kids, we are here on this planet to make other people's lives better. That's our goal. That's our objective here. Is to make other people's lives better, if possible. So if I can do that by simply drawing, which is not a hard thing for me. I mean, I'm not breaking my back over this. This is not me struggling to do these sort of things. This is what I would consider an easy thing. I mean, it's just drawing to me, and it's not something that they can pull off on their own. So what's the harm? I mean, I'm gonna help if I can. I'm gonna help.
That's great. You're absolutely right. You nailed it right there. But I don't want to drag it out any longer. I know we could sit here and chit chat, but we have a few more things that we want to go over with.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about how you work with portraits, and you're working on Tyler right now on stream right now, but when you're researching for a project, like say it's something from one of your books or anything, whatever have you, how do you begin brainstorming for a new project?
Honestly, Google image search is really, really good. So a lot of times what I will do is type in something like woman dynamic pose, or man dynamic pose. And that'll get your brain moving, because you'll see a style of movement or something that you hadn't considered yet, right? If I have something in mind already, I'll just run with it. But quite often somebody will say, "Hey, can you draw my hunter doing something cool?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And so that's what I'll do. I'll go in there and I'll type, powerful man dynamic, or powerful man intense, or something like that, and just kind of sift through and weed through and look through and see what kind of imagery they have out there that can maybe get the juices flowing. And I'll use those quite often as the skeleton, or like the framework for what's going to eventually become the actual piece. But I tell you, Google, obviously everybody Googles everything, right? So you might as well Google that too.
Oh, I was doing the same thing just the other night. I was researching to build on a banner for a convention, for a convention banner for a booth. And I wanted to figure out something that worked out good with the logo that I was working with, to complement it from the back, so it wasn't just a flat background. So I was looking at splashes and lights and lines and various other pixels, various other styles, and this and that. And you're absolutely right. Google is an endless source of research, as a tool.
I mean, all art is copying what's been done before in a way that's your own. Mostly, that's every great artist starts off with mimicking the masters as best you can, until you forget to do it, and then one day you look at it and you go, "Oh, I just did that on my own, and it's different." And that's basically how I've always viewed it. So, you interpret the world in a different way than other people, but you can't interpret the world unless you're looking at the world. You you can't just close yourself off because, oh, that's cheating or something. No. I got to see the world in order to interpret. So,
Yeah, right.
Google's the world to me.
Now, if you can you share some tools that you utilize for listeners, or kind of like a peek into your process? I know you shared some tools with Photoshop, but maybe
Sure.
something that when you're working on like a Cintiq or something like that, or any techniques.
Yeah. So step backward is like your best friend in digital. It's it's different than undo. It's one step back, and you can keep stepping back. It's a shortcut. I think it's Control Alt Z or something like that. I don't know. You can find it, but step backward is key if you're actually going to do art, because you can back up multiple steps at a time instead of cycling back and forth. So that's, from the digital standpoint, that's what you should probably look into or whatever. As far as references, if you're doing Destiny art, which, if you know me, that's the bulk of what I do. There's a website, lowlydev.au. Does everybody know what that one is?
Is that the one with the 3D model?
So I think his name is Richard Devereaux or something like that. It's his website. He does maps, he does loot, he does all this stuff.
Ooh.
But it allows you to 3D render all the art and weapons in the game and rotate them on your screen and save it as a PNG. So if you want to depict that rifle at this angle, it's perfect. It allows you, and you can even put the color scheme on it if you're really into that kind of thing.
That
But
sounds beautiful.
it's extremely, hang on, just go to Google and type in lowly dev. I don't want to do it because I'm still drawing stuff. LOWLIDEV. Just Google that, and eventually you'll see
.com.au
.au. That's the one you want. And then go to Gear Viewer and let it load.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll tell you, anybody I can find, like any artist, that's who I point to every time, man. His work is amazing. He's a good guy. He's on Twitter and stuff. You can find him and thank him for what he did, because he's doing that out of his own time as well. But as far as referencing Destiny stuff, man, that's the key. That's it. You can position the armor however you want. You can do all that stuff. So a lot of times I'll build a framework on that. So a guy tells me, I like this hunter cloak or this hunter helmet. I want him with this armor piece here, yada yada. All right, no problem. So I'll look up those pieces. I will rotate them to where I feel like they're going to be in the right spot. Save that image, bring it into Photoshop, and just use it as a reference. Man, it's wonderful. It's extremely good.
This is beautiful.
Right?
Yes.
It's like when he started that project, I was like, yes, do that, please, God.
I needed this like 3 years ago.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But now I have to remember what my gear is called.
Ruby, when you get a second, can you copy that link and throw it in the chat?
I can do that. Yes, I can do that.
And then there's
I almost want to turn on my third monitor just so I can look at it myself.
Yeah, so there's also a website called Destiny Sets, I believe it's called. And if you ever can't remember the name of something or how you got it, that guy compiles the same stuff but in a more organized way. But it's not for it's not like you can 3D model it. He just shows you what group it's from and stuff like that. Like it's from the Eververt, or it's from this what area or something like that. So also a very helpful site.
That is fantastic.
That
is a great tip.
Yep.
This is super.
So if you feel like doing some Destiny art, that is your key, man. That's where you go.
Excellent. Wow, all the shaders.
I feel like I shouldn't have said that and just kept that to myself. But it's extremely helpful, man. And that's actually one of my favorite parts about Destiny, is the community. Like, these people are spending all this time and effort to do this stuff, and it's pretty thankless by and large. But you feel compelled to to do it because you love the stuff that so inspired by the game world that these guys have created that you feel like you have to almost, All right.
Wow, look at that.
And I was gonna ask for a tip for the next part. I was gonna ask a tip for anybody that's not familiar with Photoshop. This just totally trumped it. I can't even ask the question now. No, in Photoshop, if somebody's not familiar with Photoshop and the way you're working with the portrait right now and you're grabbing colors from the other side, how do you grab
Alt? Yep, with the brush tool, press the Alt button and it will turn into an eyedropper tool. So that's it, man.
That's a great tip right there. Some people that are just starting out and just becoming familiar with Photoshop or this type of program, I could see how just that tip right there could make the world of difference in somebody's piece if they're trying to use something as inspiration to try and get the color exactly the same. That's amazing.
And so what's neat about this choice is with this type of work, you learn while you're doing it how and why the body is the way it is and the colors are the way they are and stuff like that. So when you go in to do your own work, you're going to remember, you know what, the eye isn't pure white there. It's actually like this, or more often than not, there's a weird shade here of a different color and stuff like that. So it's good to keep that kind of stuff in mind.
You're absolutely right. Clint Felker was on a couple episodes ago, and he was saying the exact same thing about nighttime. Go outside, look out at night.
Different.
It's not one color. When you go outside, you'll see reds and blues and greens, and you're absolutely right on that. Tyler, I think, is resetting his computer. He's been having some trouble with his Mac. And so he should be back within the hour.
Okay.
The poor guy. He just had it fixed like 2 weeks ago, and it's doing another little glitch thing.
No luck, huh?
No. But
yeah, happens.
Ruby, you want to bring us into the next part?
Ooh, I'm sorry.
I hear you being a keyboard master over there.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
All right, so
time
management.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was just gonna say I like the sound of a mechanical keyboard. It just doesn't transition well in audio.
Yes, I know. Unfortunate. So how do you manage your time, especially considering that you're a family man as well?
Yeah,
and
so
you have a job.
Again, I'm extremely lucky because the art that I do, by and large, takes place at my job. So I work in emergency management, and my job entails making sure that people are safe during times of crisis, and that all the plans are updated, et cetera, right? The side effect of my job is there's plenty of downtime when there's no crises occurring. And during that downtime, I've been told I'm allowed to do stuff like this, like to draw and whatnot. So because if my work gets done, it's done. It's not a I don't have a laborious job. I don't have a job where I'm moving stuff around or anything like that. So I finish my work for the day, and then I'll just crank out art as best I can. So it's extremely lucky. And then when I get home, it's family time. That's how I split my time, because I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. The way other guys, like say Brian and stuff, he has a family and art's his job, and I think he has another job too. Like, that's amazing to me that these guys can pull this off, because I'm not sure I could do it as well. I don't have to fight that situation right now, so I'm just happy to be in the situation I am.
Heck yeah, you're really lucky.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
extremely lucky, and I'll never take it for granted.
That's also really cool that you understand how difficult it can be.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine. Honestly, I can't imagine right now trying to survive off of art. The stress levels must be insane. I can't. I just can't figure it out. Like I can't believe that people have the guts to do it. Like it's impressive. Like it's truly impressive.
Yeah, like I'm looking at what you're doing, and it's just mesmerizing, and you feel so relaxed,
Yeah,
and
art's
it's
great for that. That's
yeah,
for sure.
like you don't have to worry about someone else being your boss for this piece. You're like, I'm gonna do it my way, and it looks therapeutic, just the way you're casually laying down the shapes and just filling in detail.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, that's another side of it's just easy when you do it through this technique. Now, this isn't my normal setup. Like I said, I'm not comfortable with these brushes. These are weird brushes. So we're gonna try and use them. Let's use some weirdness. Let's see what this thing does. I don't know what this does. Let's have
Oh, those
fun.
are the dynamic brushes, I think. They tilt
Yeah.
with your
Okay.
stylus.
I don't know opening.
Now, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
every episode I get a kick out of two things.
All right.
One of them is the 30-second challenge. We're not there yet. The
Sure.
other one is the fun fact section.
Okay.
And I love it when Ruby leads into it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so. And this started when I was first starting in the industry. I was in a big room full of a bunch of artists, and there was this one guy who just randomly liked throwing out facts that he just knew. Like, hey, did you know
Okay.
that cheetahs ran at this many miles per hour? And I'm like, and that's not even what we asked you. And that's what he tells us, just so randomly. And I learned over time that it was because artists just end up learning a lot of random things.
Right.
You know, have you come across anything that you would care to share by any chance? Whatever topic.
This one usually catches everybody off guard.
It
Yeah,
usually
so-
does.
I genuinely, I don't know if I've. Instead of talking about something that I've read or learned, I'm going to tell you about some silly people from college
That's
because
fine.
I don't know if I've ever learned anything that is story worthy. But I will tell you about the guy who kept asking me if I've watched The Big Lebowski. Because he never let me go. So every class of figure drawing that I had with this guy, and for the life of me I can't remember his name right now, which is probably a good thing, I guess. He would go, "Oh man, hey, did you ever see The Big Lebowski?" And I'd be like, "Honestly, I haven't yet, man. I haven't." It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring it for you. Dude, you got to see that. It's awesome." I'm like, all right, cool. Go ahead and bring it to me, and I'll definitely watch it. Now, keep in mind, this is like the '90s, so it's not like you could just stream it and stuff like that. It was a different era. So the next class, he'd be like, "Hey, dude, hey, you ever see The Big Lebowski?" I'd be like, "No, man, no." And so it turns out this guy was high as a kite every single class, and he had completely forgotten that he talked to me about this. And it just became this ongoing joke between like pretty much the entire class. And they'd start asking me if hey, dude, you saw The Big Lebowski? And I was like, "No, man, I haven't." It was wonderful. It was so, and that's I guess that's college art for you. It's like you, and then they also had the people that were super purist about art, and how I was my original intention was to go into art and be a teacher, like the rest of my family. Like my whole family's a bunch of teachers, right? I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna learn how to teach art. That'll be my thing. Well, there were some people in our class that were just like, dude, that's you're not a real artist. Then if you're gonna teach, you gotta like go starve somewhere, right? Don't you have to go starve somewhere to be a real artist? So I remember thinking to myself, these guys are taking this super seriously. But then I quickly identified several of them as complete and total fakes. Like this one guy came in, and we had to go and do a project where we had to study nature and do something from nature as the reference for our project, right? So this guy shows up and he's got this big board, and on this board is a bunch of nails with a lines, like a yarn attached to the nails in like a zigzag pattern. And we were like, "Oh man, that's pretty neat. What's the deal with this?" He's like, "Oh, this is the path of a dragonfly." And I was like, "That is cool, actually. That's pretty neat. You followed a dragonfly around and you tracked this path." He's like, "Oh no, I didn't actually see the dragonfly, man. I just put the nails on there and it's not. I didn't actually find any dragonflies." I'm like, "Oh, so this is just nails and yarn then? There's actually nothing to this, right?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, it's still the concept is there." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, so that's fine. Yeah, wonderful nails and yarn. You're good." And to explain just how disillusioned I became, we had a project where we had to take a ceramic skull, which was pretty cool, it was realistic looking, and do something with it. And every class did this every year, and these skulls were kind of placed around the school and on display and all this stuff, right? And some people, over the years, people have done some cool stuff. They put it on a remote control car. They've turned it into a tank. I don't know, just painted it all pretty, that kind of cool stuff, right? So I really didn't care anymore by this point. This had completely ruined my entire concept of art school for me. I was done. It was so much BS at this point. You were literally just BSing your way through, and I was not happy anymore. So I took it. I put it in a black box. I sealed the black box. I wrote in the black box, not to be opened until 2020. And a bunch of stuff that I said I used. I did all this cool stuff to it, guys. I used these parts and all that. I just randomly thought of parts that I could put on this skull. And my teacher loved it. He loved the concept of this piece he couldn't open yet. Man, the anticipation was killing him and all this stuff. And I got an A+. And the kids in my class absolutely knew that it was BS. But they were so mad at me for thinking of that and getting out of the project, basically. Oh, they were not happy with me. And then to kick it all off, at the next project was a micro scale project. You had to come up with something on a smaller scale so that people could see how you viewed the world on a micro. So I did a toothpick. A Q-tip altar, right? Using Q-tips. And then I grabbed a black box and I sealed it in a black box. And I brought it in. I was like, "This is my Q-tip altar, but it's in this black box." And the class went, "No, you can't do that again. No. Yeah, I know. And I pulled it out, and they were all like, "God dang it." And they were very mad at me for fooling them twice and all this stuff. So we had a good time in college, but it really did. It messed me up as far as art. I basically took 10 years off after college and didn't draw. That's when I wrote, because I was just so tired of it. And it wasn't until Destiny came out really that sparked my creativity again. The style of the game was so diverse and unique that it really made me want to draw.
I love it. I love it. Destiny has sparked a lot of people to get back into their passions and what they used to love to do, and I love hearing stories like that. Having something like that spark creativity again in somebody that hasn't had it in a while.
Yeah, and it was pretty dead. I do the occasional sketch for my role playing group or something like that, but art is definitely one of those, if you don't use it, you lose it type things. It was bad. Like, I was not good at art anymore. It was noticeable, and I lamented that. I was like, "Man, I'm terrible. What the heck?" But I feel like I've come to terms with that, and I got a whole bunch of books out of the deal. Basically, it's hard to write now. I'll be honest with you, because I draw so much. It's hard to keep two talents going with any sort of real skill sets, because you got to focus on one really more than the other. It's not easy.
I feel you there.
It's not easy. You know.
Finding time. Like, at
Yep.
least you can do art at your job and then you go home to your family and you do that. But
Yes.
fitting something else,
Yeah, I can't even imagine, honestly, trying to do like some art like this at home. Like I couldn't figure it out. Like I don't know how. I wouldn't know how to allocate that much time into this. You know, it's I don't know. I don't know how to pull it off.
yeah.
And ultimately, I know me. I wouldn't pull it off. I'd focus on them because priority number one is family. I mean, I have no problems with that. Like I'd hang up art forever if it meant that was the only way to see my family or something. You know what I mean? Or deal with them. Like it's not even a question to me. So priorities are what they are.
Yeah.
You're right. Gotta have priorities, and you gotta manage your time well. I mean, family comes first. Everything in real life
Always
comes first. Job, work, whatever have you.
Yeah. And I tell you that's actually why I've never like applied for any of these. Like, because I'd love to do game design, like not actually art, but like the actual game design, conceptual design of a game, like how the game should play and all this stuff. And I've never applied for anything like that because I'd have to move if you get it. There's no way around that. And I'm not transplanting my family just because I want to make a video game. That's just not a reasonable thing for me, you know.
But
Because
I
I
love
have a
the
feeling.
feedback you have about the games, how passionate you are. I see your Twitter feed, and you're always putting out little feedbacks here and there how to better a game.
Yeah, I have pretty strong belief systems about how games should be played. I'm not a fan of certain aspects of modern games, like statistical increase of leveling and stuff. I'm not a fan of fake numbers telling me that I'm doing better when in fact the gameplay hasn't changed at all. That's not a. I'm not a. I don't like it. I'd rather when my character levels up and gets better, that there is a noticeable change to the way the game is played, and I'd rather that higher level characters are interacting with the game world in a different way than lower level characters, rather than just I have I had a number different over my head or something like that. It just bugs me. But it is the way it is, you know, and I can't change that about how games are done. It doesn't, because I'm not in control. So I chime in with what I can and hope that feedback gets listened to, but it'll probably be more about making sure pulse rifles get their fair shake or something. You know, it's
oh no, it'll be
yeah.
a hunter getting a better super above
definitely
already
needs a blade
getting a better
increase.
super.
Yeah.
Titans get no love. I don't care if anybody.
Everybody.
If you don't play Destiny 2, I'm sorry, but I play Destiny 2. We all play Destiny 2, and I'm a Titan. I've been a Titan forever.
Yep. Me too. I only have one.
The last time my Titan felt incredibly powerful in that game was when year one. No, before that, when it was the Hammer Titan spam in PvP.
Yeah, Rise of Iron. That's when Hammer Titan came, right?
No, Rise of Iron was at the tail end of Destiny 1. That was the last piece of content we got. This was right after, I think, Dark Below.
Taken King?
Taken King, I think.
It might have
Sounds
been.
right.
I don't remember.
I think all of our memories are pretty terrible at this point with the game.
Yeah,
been out for like 6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
when that happened.
All good. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I do feel like everybody gets their share of time in the sun, and I like the one thing I do like about Destiny is that they do shake it up from time to time. I wish it was more often. There was something that somebody posted recently that they wish they would just throw it all up in the air and let it fall every month. Just, every 4 weeks. Here's the craziness of the system right now. Have fun with it. And then everybody be like, whoa, what's going on with this? And yada, yada. And then in a month later, they just change it all back up again, because at this point, it's too long in between the cycles and it turns people off. Let's stop talking about video game design because that's not why we're here.
You're absolutely right. But hey, we're all passionate about that game. And you dropped the first thing about pulse rifles, so I blame you.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
We don't have any art submissions this week, but if you ever want to be highlighted or shouted out on an episode, feel free to send us a image or a piece when we put out. We'll start putting out a social announcement when we get closer to the next episode. And if you'd like to be highlighted on the podcast, on the stream, we'll show your piece that you submitted, and we'll give you a shout out to who you are, where they can find you, and what medium of art you were using. So feel free to send us any art submissions in the future. Right now, we're going to go into the 30-second challenge if you're up for it.
Sure. All right.
Now, there's some steep competition in
Yeah,
the past
understood.
couple that,
Let me
that were all amazing in 30 seconds.
let me make a new thing here.
Now,
All right, 30 seconds, right?
30 seconds,
what I
Ruby,
got.
do you have a timer?
Oh, that's right. What about a topic?
Now, if you're listening to the podcast, we do a thing every episode is a 30-second doodle sketch challenge with everyone that comes on. And if you'd like to see this challenge, we'll put it out on our Twitter feed so everybody can see it. But also feel free to check out the live stream. And we will actually have that on the Twitch channel for 14 days. And then prior to that, we'll move it over to the YouTube. So you can just search YouTube if you want to check it out.
Okay.
And there'll be a calendar at the end of the year.
Are you going to do Tyler?
Nope, I'm just gonna draw this. I'm gonna draw something. I don't know. You gotta tell me what I'm drawing.
Ruby, do you have a suggestion? Ruby froze. She's got the timer. Oh no. All right. Give me a second. I'll pull up a timer. I got this. Okay. Anybody in the chat have any suggestions? How about... Oh, Ruby, you're back. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion?
Did you have something in mind? I thought for a moment you had something like you were just gonna draw, or
Me?
yeah.
No. I'm whatever y'all want.
Huh. I need
This is
to
y'all
think
show.
through before. My bad. What's your favorite animal?
It's a great question. By default, I like dogs. Dogs are cool.
Hey,
But-
do a dog.
Okay.
Be a bird. All right.
All right.
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Start. He's all cartoony.
All right, Pherian right now is drawing a awesome looking dog.
15 seconds. 10, 9, 8,
Oh my god.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done.
That is the
Aw.
best 30-second dog that probably would have took me at least 20 minutes to draw. How did you pump that out so fast? It's like you've drawn this before. Wow. I'm blown away by the speed that you just pumped out
That's
Baxter the dog.
That's Baxter. Yeah.
I love Baxter.
Baxter's a good dog.
Wow. Thank you so much for doing that. That is great.
You're welcome.
I'm going to have
Busy
to
beast.
get you to send that or put it in the chat with us, and we'll get that out there. Yeah, definitely save Baxter.
Yeah.
That is incredible. There's Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler's in the chat. Tyler, you're supposed to be on here with us.
He is here with us. You see in the big screen.
He's in spirit.
You're right. He actually... Well, yeah, you got me there. Wah, wah.
He's here twice.
Yes, he is. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So what else? What you got?
Is Baxter your real dog, or?
When I was growing up, I had a dog named Baxter, and he was evil, but we loved
Oh.
him anyway.
It's evil.
Oh.
Yeah, so Baxter would do this thing where he'd come over to you and like roll over, like rub my belly, like all dogs do, right? But then he'd slowly and steadily look up at you, and if you had about a 15-second window before he'd bite you, like
Ooh.
he was like, "Yeah, you got to pet me, but only for a little bit of time, and then I'm gonna bite you." And the only person that he actually tolerated was my mom. Like, he loved my mom, but the rest of us were just kind of,
Just
You were
shared the
there.
house with him.
yeah.
Mm.
He was an evil cocker spaniel. All
Aw.
things. Yeah.
Pretty dog.
Oh yeah, he was gorgeous. That's the thing. He'd trick you. He'd make you think that we're all
He was
good,
an
man. We're all
angel.
good. But then he'd be evil. My friends hated coming over. It's great.
Oh.
It was great.
Or D&D.
Yeah. I've met
Yeah.
those dogs
Pieces.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shred your documents.
I got this terrible memory just burned in my brain of a buddy of mine. I'm just going to say it real quick. It'll take me about 20 seconds. I think I was junior in high school, and I went over to a friend's house. First time ever going there. And I go there, and his medium-sized dog is tied out front, and I've never been afraid of dogs. It could be a Rottweiler.
Right, yeah.
I'm not afraid. And I just walk right up to the dog, and he's standing like right there on the front porch, not moving, just watching me. And I go, what's up, pup? And I just start petting him and everything. And then it slowly dawned on me that this dog is not moving or reacting or
no.
moving a muscle. And it's like, oh no, this is not a friendly dog. And I think I took the dog back because I wasn't afraid of it. And I went up and I pet his head and down his back and everything. And it just looked like he was just on edge. And as soon as I stepped back, then he came after me. And
Yeah.
I ran around his house, the dog chasing me. And my buddy, already prepared for it, had the back door open, laughing, going, I figured you'd make your way around here. Come in. And I came in the house, he shut it. He
Nice.
goes, that is the meanest dog ever. He's like, none of us can be in the same room as him. I'm like, oh, well, that's good. Let's put him on the front porch so your friend, mistakes him
right.
for. Yeah, I'll edit that out. No. Before we go, that's all we have for the episode. But before we go, what? Trying to formulate this without reading it straight from the notes or anything like this, but for somebody that might be listening that is just starting out in creating art or pursuing art as a hobby, what suggestion would you give them going forward?
Find something that you love and recreate it. And you'll quickly figure out if that style is for you or not. So, like, for instance, I said I don't enjoy drawing guns, right? But I love the design of guns. I love the design of mechs and hardened, robotic creatures. I think it's amazing. So I've tried, but I just found I don't like drawing it. But you will eventually find something that you actually enjoy. And it's okay to like something and not let that be your wheelhouse. It's really all right to not be awesome at everything. But on the flip side, if you got the drive, man, go for it. Learn everything you can. Use it all. But I've found that I have a lot more peace of mind once I've accepted the fact that this is my wheelhouse. This is what I do. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to be the best at everything. I can be adequate at some things and still be quite satisfied with my life. So it's about finding balance and peace of mind, man. Don't hurt yourself by beating yourself up over art, because you'll never be the best. No one's ever the best. Some people, we're all good at certain things and we're all bad at certain things. I mean, find that peace, find that balance.
There you go.
That's awesome.
That's a great place to end right there.
Yeah.
Find your peace.
Okay.
get inspired by anything. And Pherian, I can't thank you enough for coming on and chatting with us.
Sure. Problem.
You shared, I know it might not have seemed like you shared all too much, but you shared so many tips that somebody could utilize just from talking with us and showing what you've been doing with Tyler's portrait on stream. I mean, it's been an hour. You've probably been working on it about an hour and 40 minutes, and it looks absolutely amazing. And I'm definitely going to utilize some of the tips that you suggested. I never even knew that you could take samples of color from one side of a picture and then, just take a dab and then use that too. I don't know how long I've spent trying to match colors in, the color wheel right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ruby, anything that you want to...
Yeah. How'd you come up with your signature?
Oh, man. An exhaustive amount of time was spent trying to figure out how to turn the word Pherian into some sort of icon. And I genuinely can't remember how or why I actually settled on it, but I got tired of writing it out and just doing print. So I just started putting a big P, and I was like, nah, it looks kind of weird. And I always liked the way some of these comic book artists kind of block their SIGs, and so I was like, let me try that. So I have the copy and paste one that I put on all my professional art, and then when I do sketch art, I just do the little square P. I don't know, just
it looks
worked.
Good.
And just so you know, Jay Howard says that he loves you.
I see his chat. I'll see you soon, Jay. We're gonna have a booth together at Guardian Con.
I've heard.
Nice,
it's gonna be epic.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's coming up soon.
Yep. In fact, that's part of our deal right now is getting all our ducks in a row because there's 4 of us. Jay we're gonna have as our mascot, and then me and Ian and Steph are all selling work, and this is all of our first con to do this. So we're relying on the wisdom of people like Brian Munkus and Kelly from Cobwin Art to fill us in on the stuff that we're going to forget because we're inevitably going to mess it up. But we're going to do our best to have a good show out there, give people access to work that they normally haven't had access to.
That's going to be epic.
Now you heard that right here, and that is at Guardian Con down in Orlando, Florida.
Yep.
Later this year, July 4th through...
5th and 6th?
5th.
5th, 6th, yeah, something like that.
5th, 6th, and 7th. It's 3 days, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
So keep an eye open for that. And, Pherian, where can people find you? And where can they find more of your art and books and other content?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'm just Pherian Art. I have a personal website, John S. Sermon, johnsermonjr.com, I think. I don't know. It's one of those. And I post, stuff on there actually kind of rarely. It's just more of a hub to figure out where I'm at. I have an art station, but I just upload those once a month. I just kind of dump all my art on there. Honestly, Twitter's my main social media, so if you have any questions or have anything you want to talk to me about, feel free, hit me up.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for, hanging out with us and listening to the podcast, and we hope that you get got something meaningful out of it this episode, and just like every other, keep on being inspired and creating art. We look forward to seeing you again. All right.
Absolutely.
You guys have a good night.